Welcome back, chess endgame fans. Now, this video is being made during the COVID lockdown in the United Kingdom. Now, worldwide, chess has kept going quite remarkably during the health emergency. Many clubs and competitions have been able to migrate online. And chess has enjoyed even something of a boom. And many players from across the world are able to play each other online. So a great example of remote working. Now, the migration includes the 4 NCL, the National Clubs League in the UK. And the 4 NCL put together a 5-division, 10-round club tournament, plus a junior league in just a matter of weeks. And these matches have been played on Tuesday evenings at a time control of 45 minutes each, plus 15 seconds increment for each move. So a really fantastic effort by the 4 NCL organisers and the club match captains. Good on them. Well, today's position comes from one of the Division 3 4 NCL clashes. Now, unusually, I'm not going to introduce the players by name, beyond saying that they're both amateurs, and one of them is a teammate, but they're not professional or semi-professional players, and they haven't consented to be identified, so that's the reason. As ever, the position is chosen for its intrinsic instructional value. So let's have a look at the position. It's an ending with reduced material. There are just 5 pieces left on the board. And we have knight and pawn versus bishop. The white pawn is on g7, so it's just 1 square from queening. And it's white's move with his knight under attack from the black bishop. Now, the result of the game hinges on whether white can promote the pawn successfully. So the Woldsman's challenge to you is to say what you think the result of the game should be, and to suggest a first move for white. So if you'd like to have a go at this problem, pause the video here. Okay, so welcome back if you decided to have a go at meeting the challenge. Now, in the game, the players were down to about a minute plus increment by this point, having played over 18 moves. Hence, at this stage, instinct and general principles, as much as solid calculation, definitely come into play. So let's try and think about some general principles that will help us with this type of ending. Well, the bishop is a much fleeter piece than the knight. In fact, in all but exceptional positions, a bishop should be able to hold off a king and a knight, unaided, with a centre pawn that's not too far advanced. Well, as the extra pawn gets further and further up the board, and especially if it's a flank pawn, then the bishop needs to call on the king for help. And this is because the length of the shortest diagonal reduces very considerably. So with a pawn on g7, the g8, h7 diagonal is just 2 squares long. So black is definitely going to need to have his bishop supported by the king if he's to have any hope here. Now, in these video series, I've frequently recommended the work of Averbach, and I'm going to do so again. Averbach made a study of these endings, and his results appear in his Comprehensive Chess Endings. And that's a book that is well worth dipping into because it will help you enormously should you have to defend or try and win a position like this one. So what I'm going to do is just to show you a position that Averbach discusses. And as we'll see, it does help us enormously in assessing this ending. So let's just move the pieces around. Okay. So we've got a white king on f6, the knight's on h6, the pawn's still on g7, and the black bishop is on h7. So white has 2 winning strategies here. The first is going to be to play king f7, king f8, knight f7, and then we will drive the bishop away with knight g5. And once the bishop moves, it either gets captured on g8 or it's no longer guarding the queening square, so we can simply queen the pawn. So that's the first winning idea. Now the second winning plan is to go knight f7, knight g5, bishop will have to drop back to g8, we go king g6, and then we'll go knight f7, knight h6, and that forces the bishop away again, and then we can just close the diagonal with knight f7 and then promote the pawn, because the bishop no longer guards the queening square. So they are the two winning strategies for white here. So we need to ask, well, where does the black king need to stand in order to combat these two threatened ideas? So let's think about this. What would be a good square for the king? Well, the first square that you're probably going to think of is e8. So let's see what happens if we put the king here. Unfortunately, king e8 is no good. So white goes king e6, and now suddenly black's in Zugzwang. He can't move the bishop because it's either captured or it lets the pawn promote, and so the black king has to give way. He has to go to d8, and that gives the white king access to f7. Again, bishop moves are no good, so black's best is to go king d7. White can drop back, he can go knight g4. Now black's got one trick here. He can play bishop c2 and hope that white is hasty and promotes the pawn. But if he goes g8 queen, then you have bishop b3 check, winning the queen. So white doesn't fall for that. We go king f8. Black goes bishop b3. And now white simply goes knight h6. And this threat of knight f7 cannot be parried. So the king is no good on e8. So where should it stand? Well, Averbach shows that there are only two squares which enable the king to come to the bishop's aid. And these squares are h5 and h4. So let's put the king on h4. That's the more interesting of the two squares. And we'll see what happens to white's two winning attempts now. Let's try them out and see. So first plan is to go king f7, and black can go king g5. White has to go knight g8. But now black can simply go bishop d3. And if knight f6 happens, then black can go bishop c4 check. And this establishes a drawn position. For example, if white were to go king e7, we simply go king g6. And there's just no way that the white is ever going to be able to plant his knight on f7 blockading the diagonal anymore. So that is clearly drawn. So king f7 is no good. So the only other winning plan here is to go knight f7. But now black can advance with his king and get to h5. And if white goes knight g5, then black has a square for the bishop. He can just go bishop g8. And again, black is holding this position. No bother. Okay, so let's go back to the game position, armed by these theoretical insights or results of Yuri Averbach. All right, so in the game, white actually played the move knight f8 here. And it's very hard to believe that this move attacking the bishop doesn't win, but that is indeed the case. And what white should have done is to go king f6 here. Let's see what happens. The bishop drops back to, let's say, b3, a square on the diagonal. And now white can go knight e5, and notice that we have this threat of knight f7 blocking the diagonal. And the only way that black can respond to this is to go bishop g8. Now white goes knight f7. That's a very important move. It's a very, very clever move as well, because it stops black from going king g4 because of the fork. Knight h6 check wins the bishop. So black has to play bishop h7 here. White goes knight g5, attacking the bishop. So it has to go back to g8. And now white goes king g6. And the bishop can't move. If it goes, let's say, to bishop c4, then white has knight c7, closing the diagonal. So black's best is to go king g4. White goes knight f7 anyway. Let's say black goes king h4. And now knight h6, bishop c4, and we have knight f7. And white has succeeded in closing the diagonal, and that will win the game. So king f6 is a winning move. Notice that white can ignore the attack on the knight. It's an illusory threat because of the need to guard that g8 queening square. So what happened after knight f8? Well, black has here the resource bishop b3. He can move his bishop to other squares on this diagonal, but the squares that he needs to avoid are f7, where the bishop can be captured, and g8 for reasons that we'll see. And now if white goes king f6 here, then black has got a very, very sneaky response. He can go bishop to g8. After knight g6 check, king g4, knight e5 check, then there is a way for the black king to come around the side. Following the Averbach prescription, we can go king h5. And after knight f7, then it's very important here not to go king h4, because were black to do that, then suddenly he's in Zugzwang after king g6. There's no move for the bishop. He can't even go king g4 because of the knight fork. So the king has to give way, and we can then simply do the knight h6 bishop moves, knight f7 winning plan. So instead black plays the move bishop h7 and holds the game. Well, we know that because of the Averbach analysis. Okay, let's go back. So in the game though, after knight f8 was played, black made a mistake and he went bishop to g8 immediately. And the problem with this move is that white can go knight d7, go back, and this prevents king g4 or king e4 because there's a fork on f6. So instead, black's bishop has to leave g8 again. It goes, let's say, back to b3. White plays king f6, and again, king g4 is impossible, this time because of knight e5 check, followed by knight f7. So black has to wait. He has to waste a move with bishop c4. White goes knight e5. Bishop g8 is now forced because of the threat of knight f7. White goes knight f7 anyway. Again, king g4 is still not possible because of the fork. So there's no way you can get the king to h5 from here. You have to go bishop h7. And now we have knight h6. And notice that we've now transposed into the other back position that I showed you at the beginning, and black's king is not on h5 or h4, and so black loses. All right. So let's go back to the game. Knight f8 was played. Black made this mistake, played bishop g8, but instead of going knight d7, instead white went knight h7. Now black played a very good move. He went king e5, going around the other side of the pawn. And what black wants to try and do is to support the bishop in guarding that critical f7 square. White went knight g5. And here black went wrong. He should have carried on with the plan. He should go king d6 here. And the idea of king d6 is that if white goes knight f7 check, black has king e7, and after knight h6, bishop b3, the move knight f7 has been taken out of the reckoning by black's manoeuvring. The king supports the bishop, and white just can never close that diagonal. So this would hold the game. Or alternatively, if white goes king f6, then black has the same basic idea. He goes king d7, and after knight f7, then he can go king e8. And again, his king is cooperating very, very nicely with the bishop, controlling the f7 square, and taking that out of the equation. So that would be very, very sufficient. Okay, let's just play the moves again. Okay, but instead of going king d6, black sadly went back. He went king f4 here. White went king f6. And now black went king g4. And this presented white with a final winning opportunity. It's not straightforward to spot over the board, particularly when you're short of time, but it's a lot easier to spot if you're familiar with Auerbach's analysis, and you know that h4 and h5 in particular are critical squares. So the winning move here is to go king g6. And this wins because it guards the square h5. Black goes king h4, white goes knight f7, and the black king has to give way. The bishop has no move, the king has to go back again, and we can just carry out the knight h6, bishop moves, knight f7, winning maneuver. But sadly, white did not find this king g6, and instead he went knight f7, and the game ended king h5. Black made no mistake here, occupied that key square, and after king e7, black went king g6, and white recognized that he was not going to win this game. He went king f8, bishop took the knight. It is possible that white was very short of time and wanted to eliminate all the material. Pawn queened, bishop took the queen, king takes bishop happened, and that was the end of the game. It was a draw because there was no more material left. So a very instructive contest of knight versus bishop. I hope you learned something about the ideas behind this particular ending. Thanks for watching.